I will remember this moment if I ever lose hope for our common future of harmony for all. I visualize the earth in front of me. I can see the earth in my inner eye, slowly revolving. I visualize the oceans, the mountains, the forests, and all living beings. Whilst holding the image of the earth in front of me, I awaken my angel wings of compassion and care. I embrace the earth with these wings of compassion and care. I keep my wings steady around Mother Earth, and I heal the pain with love and mercy. Now, place the earth in my hands. I hold her, Mother Earth, in my hands. And whilst holding the planet in my hands, I connect to the Supreme Soul, to the Creator, and I open my soul to the purest energy of all. I let this pure energy flow through me and reach the earth in my hands. I restore harmony and beauty on earth with these pure thoughts. big change is ahead for all of us. For me, for the global family, for the environment. I can inspire hope and ease the change by holding a pure vision of the future. I see the earth in its golden form, a golden form of abundance and harmony. I visualize all people in the world keeping a positive vision of the future. Together, we can restore peace and harmony in the world.
अपनी धरती को बचाएं, आओ ऐसा कदम उठाएं, सोने के भारत को आओ फिर से मिलके सजाएं, फिर से मिलके सजाएं।
अपनी धरती को बचाएं, आओ ऐसा कदम उठाएं, सोने के भारत को आओ फिर से मिलके सजाएं,
फिर से मिलके सजाएं। गाँव गाँव हो हरियाली हो,
गाँव गाँव हो हरियाली, होगी सब में खुशहाली।
गाँव गाँव हो हरियाली, होगी सब में खुशहाली। अपनी धरती को बचाएं।
सुखदाई राहें, शीतल हवाएं, खुशनुमा था मौसम, निर्मल धार फूलों की महक से बीत रहा था जीवन।
आज ही संकल्प ले ये लाएंगे फिर वो बहार, लगाएंगे पौधे इतने सबको बांटेंगे प्यार अपार।
नजरअंदाज करे कितना हकीकत को कौन छुपाए,
अपनी धरती को बचाएं।
Om Shanti and very good morning, everyone. So welcome to the Green Day. So many of us, I think including you and me, have questions in our mind, are concerned about what is happening to Mother Nature, planet Earth. So many new and challenging issues are emerging in everyone's mind regarding climate change, ozone layer depletion, water pollution, air pollution, and so many more. And we are very, very fortunate today to have with us our BK Green experts. And in front of us today is our dear Didi Jayanti, additional administrative head of Brahma Kumaris and the representative of the Brahma Kumaris to the United Nations. And also with us in the panel is Brother Golo, our energy advisor, and also together with us is Sister Sonja. She is the coordinator for the Brahma Kumaris Environmental Initiative. So let us give them a very warm welcome and look forward to this very beautiful session. Thank you.
Thank you, Celia, for the introduction. And yes, a very, very warm welcome to Sister Jayanti and Brother Golo. And Sister Jayanti has come up specially from Shantivan for this program. And I take it as her dedication to the Green Team. And she's going down before lunch, I think. So beautiful. And the title today is Healing the Self, Healing the Earth. And together we can create a beautiful morning. And so I have also will ask you to share a few things. We will have meditation together, and at the end some Toli and blessing. And yes, now 14 years ago, we started the Brahma Kumaris Environment Initiative. And before that, yes, we have been engaged in environmental conferences and programs, but this platform was created now 2 cycles of 7 years ago. And we have participated in every climate change conference since then. That's 14 conferences. Golo's done all of them, and Sister Jayanti, I think you missed 2. And these conferences are 2 weeks long. And yes, we meet scientists, we meet politicians, we meet activists, and they're all there for various reasons, but somewhere in the heart, they are looking for the new world, a world of harmony and peace, so they are searchers in their own way. And we have exhibitions, we have programs, and we have individual meetings, and about 25 programs in 2 weeks for climate change conferences. And since then, it has increased, so now we have biodiversity, we have combating desertification, UN ocean, UN water, UN food, UN soil, UN energy. So if any one of you have any spare time, most welcome to help out. But of course, one of the biggest tasks is also greening our own institution. And we are a spiritual organization, and we will always be, but we have environmental consideration and care, and how to do best look after the environment of your body and the center, and your local community. It's also a big task. And before we start the actual interview, I'd like to hear from you. Is there any one of you who are affected by climate change or environmental degradation in any way? Does it affect your state sometimes? Does it affect your center? Does it affect your local community, and how do you deal with it? I put 10 minutes aside for this, so a few people come up for a few minutes. It would be really nice to have your engagement right from the start, because climate change is a serious issue. So there should be a mic down here on the table, and I asked the South American sisters to come up first. So here is Patricia.
What has happened recently in Brazil is this tragedy with the Yanomamis, which is an indigenous tribe, I think the most numerous one. They are in the border between Brazil and Venezuela, in the north of the Amazon. And what happened is that due to clandestine mining, people go there to do mining of gold. So the water of the rivers were contaminated with mercury, the soil became barren, and these people started to die of lack of nutrition. So it was in the main newspapers in the country, these big pictures of little babies, like skeleton, like dying because they started to walk kilometers and kilometers and they couldn't find nothing to eat. So it was something that I'm sure affected all of us in the country to kind of be aware of what was happening next door, and we are not aware of it. And also to see these pictures and these images of all of this suffering which was happening there.
Thank you. Anyone else? There was a sister there, somewhere to the left.
Yeah.
If you come down. Okay.
Yeah. Please come.
Yeah.
Since I was very young, I was involved in environmental things. I don't know why I was always pulled to all those things. And when I came to Brahma Kumaris, I felt like a shock because my childhood, my Brahmin childhood, I saw that no one did anything about the environment. And I still see all the plastic and all the dirt that we are bringing into the mountain, and that deeply affects me.
Where are you from and how long have you been with Baba?
I'm from Mexico City. I met Baba in 1995. I took a vacation in the middle and I came back.
Thank you. Nice, thank you. Welcome. Anyone else? Yeah. Now we have three from Americas. Anyone from Europe or Africa region, Asia?
Om Shanti. Right now in Argentina, well, for the whole year and a half, I would say there's been a tremendous drought. So crop after crop has been lost. Many, many animals have died, and it is starting to affect the chain of food, like lack of oil and different things. And the temperatures now raise in Buenos Aires, which is not such a hot climate, 41 degrees right now. So it's quite hot.
Toots, yeah.
As we're doing sort of little bulletins from around the world, back in London, where everyone thinks they're quite comfortable and all okay, February there was virtually no rain in England and hardly reported on. I noticed because I got a little backyard and I was brought up a farmer's daughter, so I always keep my ear and eye on what's happening for the ground. But it's not news, it's not anywhere, but it's happened. No rain in February. Remember last summer in Europe, huge heat and huge drought. All northern France crops they were withered to about a third, I think, of the breadbasket across northern France. England's going to be the same. And all the supermarkets in February had virtually no vegetables. So things are happening even in these places.
Thank you. Thank you. So thanks all for your sharings. And now I will turn to my right here. and focus on Sister Jayanti and Brother Golo. And I actually thought instead of me doing the introduction, I would ask Golo to start. You have been serving together with Sister Jayanti in the conferences for 14 years. What do you see is the major contribution Sister Jayanti has done at the climate change conferences?
Om Shanti. I feel Jayanti-ben has a deep sense of justice. And you would have become probably a social activist if you would have met Baba. And climate change and environmental degradation is all about justice. You know, it's like some companies, they grab resources and they pollute the environment. And the rich nations also live on cost of the poor nations. It's also one of the big issues. And when I see Jayanti-ben, I can see that passion for the topic of environment, but also for the topic of for the underprivileged and for the poor, which are suffering most on climate change. So I think that's one of the things which drives Jayanti-ben to come to these conferences. But of course also she's Baba's child and interested in service and interested also to meet VIPs. And the climate conference is a hub, you can say global hub to meet VIPs. Just now in Sharm el-Sheikh, I think there were 100 head of states, including Biden and Macron. They all come because they all try to get a green image. And this climate conference is a wonderful opportunity to meet and to mingle with people and bring in the spiritual dimension. And I feel that Jayanti is a Baba's special instrument. When we are with Jayanti-ben, then it's always easy to meet to the VIPs. When we're on our own, it's a different story. So she's a big contributor, and over the years I learned a lot of tricks and techniques by observing her speak and how she approaches the whole topic and how she connects it beautifully to self, to the consciousness. So that's my experience.
Thank you. It made me think of two small funny stories, actually. The first time Sister Jayanti was in climate change conference was in Copenhagen, and there was the hippie community. They had a big program with high profile, and we discussed for 2 months if we were going to take Sister Jayanti there or not. And we decided we did. And actually, I think you enjoyed it. We were walking through mud, and then the start of the program was burning capitalism. And you were active, you were in there, and I've never seen this part of you before. So that was a nice thing. The other small story was when we were in Qatar. It was a program where you were invited to a conference with some sheikhs and some from the oil industry. So it was 4 men, all dressed up in Arab dress, and you were invited. And the secretary came to me and says, because they're not used to women, so they said, does she know what to say? Shall I give her some points what to say? And I never told you because I didn't want to sort of upset you, but that's what happened in the background. But anyhow, Sister Jayanti, now you've been traveling with Golo in these conferences. What is the major contribution you have seen Brother Golo doing?
Om Shanti. There was a conference that took place in New York in 2014, and it was all the religious organizations. And for the first time ever, I heard one of the most powerful interfaith organizations actually welcome the Brahmakumaris and want to hear what we had to say. And this is because they had heard me talk about India One. And so they then began to understand that we're not just pushing forward a philosophy somewhere up there, but we're actually willing to do work on the ground. And so I think all the years that Brother Golo has spent converting the main people in Madhuban, the dadis and the dadas, into supporting solar energy has of course been a huge, huge contribution to the environment, but it's also been a very powerful point a leverage point to get us into high places within the environmental initiative. I think that people began to take us seriously when I was able to give them statistics and show them photographs of what Golo had actually done. And I really know that in Madhuban, there was nobody who had any awareness of environment. Baba loved nature, and of course at that time everything in Madhuban was recyclable, everything was within the natural environment, so that was fine. And Baba always taught us to walk lightly on the earth, and so that was part of the underlying philosophy in non-violence, of course. But in actual terms of doing something to help the environment or climate change, there was really nothing. And Brother Golo has been the real instrument to make all of that happen in a very big way. Then, of course, yes, it takes like 42 other engineers to come along and support the project, whether it's from Portugal and Germany or wherever. But the last that I know, India One had a team and still has most of that team, 42 engineers from Bharat who look after everything. But it was Brother Golo who pushed it and made it happen. So I think that if we didn't have that practicality of what spirituality is actually doing on the ground, and I think still today, Brahma Kumaris is perhaps the organization in India that has the largest output of renewable energy. I don't think there's another organization that has taken it up in such a wide-scale way. ISKCON has Eco Village, and somebody else has something else. Another guru has focused on soil. But to take it in that overall way of renewable energy, I think Brahma Kumaris is the #1 organization even today. So that's credit to our dear brother. So that's been the big major contribution, very big. But the second thing has been, Golo has been able to also share a lot about spirituality. And so when it's somebody who's given a lot of technical information and then they talk about meditation, it makes a lot more sense. And so we've been invited to various educational institutes, colleges and so on, in many of these countries, and some of you are from those countries. Brahma Kumaris on their own wouldn't have been able to get an entry. In London at the Science Museum, when they had a festival for science in India, Golo was asked to do a presentation, not a BK in a white sari, but it was Golo. And so it's really been a very, very powerful thing that happened before the idea of renewable energy became fashionable. So when we give the statistics that we started X years ago, people take it with a lot of credibility. They appreciate that. And the last thing I want to say is that Golo brings a lot of humor and fun into all our meetings and everything that happens there. It's pretty serious, it's hard work, it's long days, but Golo makes it light.
Thank you. Beautiful. So nice way of introduction to each other. And now I wanted to start a little bit what's happening in the society, and then we move back to ourselves. And nowadays we are all aware climate change is very severe. Now they talk climate change emergency. And but we have other crises also. We have war, we have inflation, we have they talk about polycrisis or permanent crisis, perma-crisis. And Golo, would you say that climate change is still the most severe crisis we are facing, or how would you put it?
Well, we all can see that somehow trouble is lying ahead. And some years ago, people were differentiating between climate crisis and loss of biodiversity. You might notice also that the insects are disappearing, which is a big problem. The bees are disappearing. But I remember in Mount Abu, after rainy season here, all the lights which were there, they were black, and thousands of insects were there, crawling everywhere. Now you can be lucky if you find 1 or 2 insects, after rainy season. And when I was young and we drove with a car into holidays, then every stop at the petrol station, we had to clean the window because there were 50, 60 dots of insects on the windscreen. And now I drove some years ago, I made a big tour and I drove 2,000 kilometers and I had nothing on my windscreen, no insects. So loss of biodiversity is a big, big problem because we need them. But we can also see that other problems are coming up right now. We have the war going on, conflict, geostrategical conflicts are increasing. Tension is rising everywhere, not only in Europe, but also in the Pacific. And we can also see that there's a big economic crisis, which has been looming since a long time. I read a commentary of an economic advisor, and he said now the central banks have only the option between hell and disaster, because either they raise the interest rates or they lower the interest rates, but whatever they do, it will cause disaster in the world, because the debt, the global debt, has reached incredible levels. And now it seems that all these crises, they are somehow merging into a crisis of civilization. And you read the news and you don't know where to look or what to see. It's happening everywhere, multiple crises, and it looks like that these crises to some extent are interconnected also. Climate crisis is causing loss of biodiversity, but it's also causing a lot of migration. And now in Europe is in the grip, is the 3rd year in the grip of a drought, and some provinces in France, in North Italy, but in Germany also, they declared already drought. And this in winter, which is supposed to be the heavy rains where all the aquifers and the lakes are being filled up, they declare drought now. And England also, some regions have declared drought. So this will affect food production and harvest. And all this is now coming up and merging into a crisis of civilization and will become the central theme in the coming years. So it's all interconnected, and it's whatever Baba predicted in the Murlis and in the book messages, it's going to happen in front of our eyes, and we're all watching. And I feel we have the last years where everything is functioning. Credit cards, food, supermarket. You said there's shortage of some food in the UK, which was unbelievable some 2 years or 3 years ago. So all these things are going to happen now in front of our eyes.
Thank you. So talking about war, you can also say that peace is very much connected to climate change. We heard about the drought, and when the farmers don't have any land for agriculture, they move into the cities, and then they have no job, no money, and riot starts, etc. So you can say peace and climate change is very much connected. And in the early days, Sister Jayanti, when I didn't understand this, one person explained to me and said that when we started Copper Age, one person said, "This is my river, it's not yours, this is my river, because I want the water for my land." So this question about my and mine started very early on and was also a reason for war and conflict. So peace is very much a topic of Brahma Kumaris. Can you link peace and climate change for us?
If I tell you just one sentence that was made at a UN conference some years ago in Spain. It was a conference that was focusing on water, and UN officials stated that the next world war will be because of shortage of water. And if I think about India and I see how the Indus River is a major source of life for everything, so many millions. And now, having seen the Ganges, I was in a place which is 60 kilometers away from Benares, Varanasi. And we were crossing the Ganges at some point, and half of the river was dry, and there was water only in half of the river, and that also was not very strong current of water. It didn't seem to be that. So the lifelines are really a problem. Indus River, it crosses Pakistan and India, and I don't need to say anything more. You can see that all the signs of conflict are there in a big way. I also want to mention that sometimes the Syria crisis has also been talked about as having started first as a local thing, then it became bigger and bigger and bigger, and we see it still continues, but that was also because of drought and lack of water. And some of you know, but in 2019, Chile had huge riots and protests. And guess what the starting point of that was? That was also on the one side drought, but also on the other side, because 90% of the fresh water that was available had been sold to a multinational for soft drinks. Can you believe it? So yes, I'm very strong on the aspect of injustice, and it stirs a lot in me. But these are real situations that have, the Chile crisis of water was such that the UN was planning to have COP, Climate Change Conference, in Chile. They'd been preparing for a year, and suddenly they realized that they wouldn't be able to cope with riots and international guests. Can you imagine how toxic the combination could have been? And so they cancelled. And then fortunately Spain was able to take it up and took all the material that they had produced for Chile in Spanish, and they use it. And it was incredible. Spain took it up. I'm looking at Pilar. And in 2 weeks, the Spanish government transferred everything, and then COP happened in a big way, which was good, because then the next year there couldn't be a COP because of climate change, because of COVID. So yes, climate change and food, rioting, violence, and no peace, all of this is absolutely interconnected. But also, a term that's being used in the papers now is perma-crisis. The world is permanently in a state of crisis, and it's true. We've just been through various things. I don't need to give you a list, and then suddenly there's another collapse of a bank, and one bank collapses, and there's a domino effect on several other banks also. And so yes, you're now again once more in a situation of economic difficulty, but I see how lack of funds, no food, and what are people going to do? They're going to riot. That's the scenario. And we're very fortunate that Baba told us everything ahead of time and gave us time to prepare ourselves on an inner level, so we have the resilience and the understanding and the courage to deal with whatever is happening today.
Thank you. Now, this is a question to both of you, because Sister Jayanti, you said when you talked about Chile, it stirs something in you, the injustice. And this stirring, how do you deal with it? Because the sister here, she was sharing the sadness when you look at the skeleton babies of the indigenous. And I sometimes, when the animals suffer, I'm used to human suffering because I'm a nurse. But when I see the animals suffer, something stirs in me, difficult to deal with. And I know Golo talked about the dying forest sometimes. So is it possible to be completely detached to this injustice or suffering out there?
I know that I become quite emotional when I see that suffering in many different ways. But internally, I understand why it's happening. And I understand that Baba's here to change things, and then I have to remind myself that I have to be able to help others rather than need any support myself. So when we understand drama very, very clearly, then we know that all this is a direct outcome of all the things that all of us have been part of. before we came to Baba, we were all very much in Kali Yuga, and maybe in our last birth, 83rd birth, there was a little bit of awareness of injustice, but prior to that, we were all part of the same scenario, and so we're all responsible. So no blame in that sense, but very much a clear understanding that Kali Yuga is coming to an end. And, you know, I was known as a doomsday lady, because I believed that destruction would come in 1976, and it didn't come. And it was okay, because I needed time anyway. But then I kept seeing things collapse in different ways. And Daddy Prakash Muni used to say, nothing beyond 2000. And here we are, 2023. And I thought that after the Dadis have gone, that's the end, we'll all go home. And so all my predictions have been false. But yet, what I'm seeing now, and I'm not giving any dates, but what I'm seeing now is collapse in so many, many different ways. We've mentioned a few already, but the breakdown of the family structure, it's happening in India. And in India, it's a place where you worship your ancestors, literally. And yet today, you've got a grandmother who can't manage, and you say, okay, I'll put her in a care home. So I'm seeing the collapse of the foundation of society, civilization, as you put it, collapse. And so I think that it's a very big wake-up call for Brahmins who say, well, Baba's been saying this for years, and it's okay, we'll carry on. I think we're going to get a rude shock when we feel climate change on our doorstep, and there's a flood. Well, Baba told me, well, what am I going to do now? If there's an earthquake, what do I do?
Golo, how do you deal with the sadness, seeing the trees dying?
Well, I was in the same situation when I came in Gyan in '84. There was one brother and he told me, Golo, in 3 years, we're all going to leave the body. It's the end of the world. I said, very good. 3 years is more than enough. Of course, I was not aware of my karmical entanglement, and I was not aware of my own sanskars, but also the sanskars of the other Brahmins, you know. So after 3 years, I asked him, so what now? He says, just 1 more year. And then I remember the year 2000 and the computer bug, and we all bought water and this and that, and nothing happened. But now things have taken a different quality and a different dimension. It's global, it's interconnected, and it's very serious where we are right now. Because many scientists, they tell us that we are close to what they call tipping points. And that's what Baba also says. He says, suddenly things will happen. And there's this film, The Day After Tomorrow, when suddenly the North Atlantic stream collapses, you know, which brings warm air to Europe and actually controls most of the weather on the northern hemisphere. And in this movie, which was by a German filmmaker, Emmerich, suddenly the North Atlantic circulation collapses, and within a week everything falls under ice, and UK starts freezing in, and the ice creeps all the way up to the Alps, and it becomes like a new ice age, you know. Within 1 month the whole northern hemisphere is under ice. And so there's a scientist in Potsdam Climate Research Institute. He was warning since 20 years, oh, that Gulf Stream is getting weaker, it's getting weaker, it's getting weak. Oh, slower. Okay, so the Gulf Stream is getting weaker. And so what happened was, everybody said he's making a joke and didn't take him serious. And now, some 2 years ago, they said, oops, the Gulf Stream is getting weaker. We measure it, already 20%. So what it means is that, what was the question, Sonja?
The sadness when the trees are dying.
The sadness, see, I wonder also. So what actually happens with the destruction of the environment around us is we're confronted with the end, with death and with destruction. And so far we had postponed it all the time because we could go to Madhuban, could meet Baba, we could meet the Dadis, but we see also in Yagya things are changing. You know? Baba is no more coming, only through video. daddies are very few there, seniors are very few there. So we can see changes in the air. And last year I was traveling with a bike through the Alps, and all the mountains were brown. And all the trees I could see, many valleys, the trees were dying. And usually everywhere in the Alps, you know, you have water coming down the river from the mountains, and they were all dry. And I felt so sad. And then I remembered, hang on, this is what Baba actually has told us, and it helped me a lot to see the big picture. And in meditation, I'm trying now to really consciously make the effort to see this big picture and be above, out of matter and out of my body. And see from a viewpoint of an angel, this as the beginning of the transformation of matter. And it's actually very important that we're not scared about it, but on the other side we just welcome it as the first signs and the first signals of the real creation which is going to happen. And before we create something, the old has to go. So this processes which is happening, and it's very, very important that we're not scared about it and that we are welcoming by our heart, and actually we start working at it in a positive way. So that's actually what happened when I saw the Alps, the mountains dying, which I love so much, and it really brought a big inner shift inside myself to see this as a chance for me to grow and to become ahead of things which are going to happen anyhow. So I'm now sort of welcoming a little bit these changes, but of course somewhere in my heart it's quite a tough situation to see a whole world, a whole nature dying in front of your eyes. You have to be quite powerful, and that's also what Baba calls the signals of times.
So now talking about meditation, maybe this is a good time to have a little experience of it, because Sister Jayanti will lead the meditation at the end, but I heard you, Golo, often speaking about your experiments in serving the planet and the planetary system and subtle region as the control room, or so maybe you can guide 5-minute meditation with us and do an experiment, how you do it. 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes. Okay, can we have some red light and some music and
some meditation music, 5 minutes.
And red light, yes. Om Shanti. So I relax myself and I connect to Baba, the Supreme Being. And I am Baba's child. I am safe. I connect to the power and to the purity of Baba. I am yours and you are mine. And I'm under your umbrella of protection. I am an angel. I'm floating above, and I become detached. I become loving. This is my task. Detached and loving. I see the whole planet, the people, nature, the animals in turmoil. I send love from my heart to everybody. Love is so powerful, combined with a pure intention. It has all the strength to change matter, because I am master of matter. Matter follows my directions. I visualize a beautiful world in front of me, our future home, a world of beauty and a world of sparkle. I'm radiating light and peace, and this brings the transformation into this old world. With my pure drishti, I'm lifting the souls, I'm lifting the animals, and I'm lifting nature. I visualize myself being in this beautiful world. This is the process of transformation. Nothing to worry. I am the master, and I am under Baba's protection. Om Shanti.
Beautiful, thank you. So Golo, you talked about the love in your meditation commentary, sending love to nature. And Sister Jayanti, the topic today is healing the self, healing the earth. And I know you can have given many beautiful classes on healing. It's a topic in itself. But maybe I could assume that you would say love is the greatest healer. Love for the self, Baba's love, love for each other is such a powerful healer. Would you say we heal the planet in the same way? Or how do we heal the elements? Is it also love, or how does it work?
I think it starts with love. And I think if you ask most people, they'll say yes, they love nature. And even if they never actually use that expression, of course, when we see a beautiful flower, we see a beautiful garden or the mountains. I remember when we came to Madhuban in October last year, everything was so fresh, so green, it was so beautiful. And we couldn't stop taking photographs and little videos, and I think they got circulated around the world. So everybody appreciates that. But do I truly love nature? And what am I taking from nature? And am I going to still continue to take from nature? Or is there going to come a moment when I can give something back to nature? And firstly, can I reduce? Can I reduce my consumption of what I'm taking from nature? And that means everything. Everything that's produced, everything that's created. Do I really need to buy new clothes? Do I really need to get new shoes? All of that, that's part of my love for nature. Because where does everything come from? Ultimately, it's actually nature. Everything, everything. So one is to reduce my consumption in all the different ways. Everything that I'm using in my life is from nature. The second thing is, can I respect nature and actually treat nature with respect? Because love also means to be able to respect. And it means that I shouldn't cause any pollution. If I respect my home, I don't make it dirty. And even if it's a little bit dirty, I want to clean it up so that it's the right place. Well, the planet is my home. So what am I doing? The litter that I throw, the pollution that I create, am I respecting nature? And so, if I love and respect nature, what impact does it have on my life and in my actions? And of course, the most important thing that Baba teaches that nobody else can teach is that I can send out thoughts of purity. I can send out Baba's light and purity to this body so that this body stays cooperative and survives till the end of the kalpa because it's useful. And without it, I don't want to go and be a little baby somewhere. So I want to keep this body. It's not attachment, but it's very clear awareness that Sangam Yuga is short and I need this for myself and also for service. And so am I able to send God's light and purity to this nature, but also then to the nature around? So first are the physical things that we can do, but of course the most subtle thing we can do is every day. Baba asked us to do Mansa Seva for a few minutes at least every day, and so can I send out Baba's light and purity to nature.
Thank you. And to talk about love in the climate change conference, which is a very political scenario, it's an art. And Sister Jayanti and Golo, they manage this art in a fantastic way. And on our website, to have some of the interviews where they're doing that, it's amazing. So love is one topic at climate change, and the other one is hope, Golo. I know you often mention hope when you talk in the conferences. How do you then link the climate crisis and the serious scenario you both described before with hope?
I remember when we went to the first climate conference in Copenhagen, I think 2009. It was quite funny because some of us we were all in white dress, and we had this funny stand with the Shiv Baba and, very funny brochures. And people came and they looked at us and said, "What are you yogis doing here?" They say, "You're in the wrong conference. We only need technology and money and strategy, and we'll fix the problem." That was 2009, and Obama came, Gordon Brown came, all the top names of the world came there, and everybody thought, yeah, they will take money, they will take technology, and they will fix it. And now the same people come to us after 14 years and they say, "Boo, it's so bad, it's so bad." It became much, much, much worse than we were anticipating. Climate change is happening much faster than was predicted 15 years ago, much faster. And we lost hope. We lost actually hope for the future. This is a problem many activists facing, but also politicians, but also the youth. Because their future is literally being stolen from them. Imagine when we were young, I remember when I was 18, the world was in front of us. You could take a job, you could go to some hippie trip to Jamaica, what I actually did, and you could do anything, and the world was in front of you and there was a future. Now many of these youngsters, they don't see a future, and they have interesting names, the organization, The Last Generation, or what is the other one?
Extinction Rebellion.
Extinction Rebellion. These are the names of the youth movements of Friday for Future, and so they all are in a very difficult situation now, how to project hope to these people. And this is a very tricky topic for us BKs, because we BKs, we say, death is coming, we're all going to leave the body, and that's it. And that's not really something you can tell to the people, because they would freak out, because people are normally people are afraid of death. And even for Brahmins, it's a delicate topic to die alive. Baba says it. It's a very deep thing, you know. And I think Baba took Brahmins in the beginning, Brahma Baba, to Baba's rock, and they made this exercise to die alive. You know, how does it feel? You know, what happens afterwards? And this is something Brahmins have to master first, to overcome fear of death. And then you can actually project hope for others. And that hope, which the method or the yukti which I use is, I say, this is a crisis. And a crisis always is a chance for you to transform, to change, and to bring the best of your qualities out of you. And I also tell people that we all have incredible creative potential. Because as some scientists tell us, our consciousness is connected to physical reality. Some scientists even say this world exists because all the time we observe it. And all the time we maintain it. And Baba always says the clock of destruction and creation is with the children. It's literally our consciousness which controls the world around us and what is going on. Environment, and it's our old karma which actually mirrors into the world and causes climate change, causes wars, causes the suffering in the world. So I tell people, see, this is a time of crisis, this is a chance. You meditate a little bit, you settle your karma, you go into soul conscious, you connect to the divine light, and all opportunities of creative potential are with you. And of course, we're all number-wise in that understanding and how much we can do, but this gives a bit of glimpse of hope to the people. And there's always, I remember always in Christianity, I was with the Boy Scouts, there was a saying about Martin Luther. So he said, I'm not sure if it's true, but I learned it. He said, even if I know tomorrow the world would end, today I would plant trees. Because it's the good deed, it's the good action, which has an impact right now, and which is immortal and eternal. So with this kind of yuktis, and of course, most important, a smile on your own face when you talk about these things, an inner happiness and an inner joy, and hope inside. Then you can talk to people and project hope and help them. That's very, very important. So it all boils down to your own stage also, at the end of the day.
Yeah. So Sister Jayanti, what would you say about hope? But also, now we have touched very serious topic about transformation, about death, about this and that and the other. And sometimes we still get the question, why do we care about the environment in this situation we're in now? Because we are heading for the big transformation or destruction. So why care about the environment? And I thought this question would have stopped by now, but actually just a few days ago someone asked us, wasn't it? So maybe you can touch upon that.
Well, firstly, I always tell them that when we learn to have non-violence and peace, then a world of peace can come, and all the other things related to that. So very often I focus on what are the things we need to transform inside so that there can be a better world. And of course, that's totally up to us as individuals to be able to bring about that change. And so then I say, well, before that world can come, maybe yes, there'll be some upheaval. So I don't spend too much time on that, but I just make them aware of the connection of what we are today and what we would like to be in the future, and how that future world is a possibility if we are ready to change. So that's the vision of hope that I usually talk about. And then in terms of, well, why am I doing all this? Why do I need to segregate my litter and so on and so on? It's part of the transformation of my sanskars. I want to have sanskars of purity, and not just purity inside and celibacy, but purity in the way I treat people, purity in the way I treat nature. And so, am I going to be worthy of Satyug when it's time to go home? I won't have time to prepare up there, but my preparation time is now. And so, do I have the sanskars of purity, of respect and love for nature? And then I can have an entry to Satyug. Otherwise, I'm not really qualified. And so that is a reality for Brahmins. What is the change that's taking place inside of me? And so if I say, well, I don't care about this, I don't care about that, that's not going to take me to Satyug. Care and compassion are integral parts of the deity soul. And those qualities actually stay with us till the end of the cycle. And so if you saw the care and compassion of the Dadis, well, where did they get it from? They didn't get it from Kali Yuga. They got it in Sangam Yuga. The care and compassion extended not only to human beings, but to everything. Beings of life, but also nature. And so it's my entry to Satyug to have these qualities. Without these qualities, I don't go there. I can come in the Copper Age when already wars have started, but I can't come in Satyug without this transformation today.
So I think the Green Team will be a full membership now if we know we have to care for the environment to enter Satyug, so we will be busy. Beautiful. Talking about this entry and care and compassion, I just have a question to you, Golo, about Sister Jayanti mentioned all your work for renewable energy. And you actually started 30 years ago, before renewable energy was in the mainstream at all, and climate change was not in the news at all. It had started, but no one talked about it except a few people. And when you started on solar, I know you once said that some people told you it's better to sit and meditate than to work with steel. And still you went on. So what was driving you at that time?
It's basically right. To meditate is better than to work with steel.
अपने सुकर्मों के बल पर ही सतयुग में तुमको आना है। शिव पिता को अब याद करो। ये संगम का स्वर्णिम युग है, शिव पिता फिर से आया है।
ब्रह्मांक से शिव बाबा ने वही गीता ज्ञान सुनाया है।
कलयुग का अंत अब आया है, विकराल विनाश खड़ा आगे।
अब हम सबका शिव पिता ने बतलाया है।
शिव पिता को अब याद करो। पांडव शिव शक्ति सेना की रणभेरी अब फिर बजती है।
शिव बाबा के ज्ञान से फिर माया को मार भगाना है।
शिव पिता को अब याद करो, सतयुग में तुमको आना है। शिव पिता को अब याद करो, मुक्ति धाम तुम्हें जाना है। अपने
भीषण कर्मों के बल पर ही सतयुग में अब तुम्हें आना है। सतयुग में अब तुम्हें आना
Yeah, indeed, when I started with solar, it was a quite interesting pathway since then. And the motivation was twofold. When I came first to India, I saw the poverty and the deforestation going on. And on the other side, I saw the incredible sunshine and the potential. And that was in the mid-80s. And that was when in Germany the green movement came up and we got actually a green party become part of the government. So all this environmental idea in Germany became very big. And that, so this spirit of the time, the Zeitgeist, as we say in German, inspired me. And of course also there's Baba's touching. Because Baba had a long time this master plan that the institution should go solar, should go on renewable energies as much as possible. And Baba one time gave the blessing, outside there will be darkness and you will have light. So Baba already gave some indication for the future also that renewable energies will be also helpful in the time of crisis. But what very much appreciated also was the support by the daddies. I think women per se have more love and more understanding for nature and are more inclined to preserve it, to take care of nature. And the daddies wholeheartedly, especially Daddy Kumarka and Didi Jayanti also wholeheartedly supported always this idea of solar, of renewable energies, and I always got blessings and support and inspiration from them. And without their support, all this would not have been happening. And now more than 1,000 centers in India are using renewable energies. Many of our compounds are running on solar cooking, on solar photovoltaic. Here also in Gyan Sarovar we have 400 kilowatt photovoltaic, we have battery banks. So we have a huge setup, and Brahma Kumaris is now widely, greatly respected in India as one of the premier organizations in solar energy. And as Jayanti said also, this gives us a lot of credibility in our interaction with governments, but also with other spiritual organizations. Mm-hmm. I remember at the climate conference, they're looking at us and saying, what the Brahma Kumaris is saying to all these things, because they know we're hands-on.
Yeah, thank you.
So that was a very interesting journey. Yeah. The last 30 years.
Yeah, thank you. And also bringing up the daddies. Actually, we have made an eco documentary. Philippa in London, Sister Philippa, she's made a documentary on Brahma Kumaris Environment Initiative. And Sister Jayanti is the main speaker there, and Golo is on, and the green team is there. But there's also nice clips from the daddies and their lifestyle. And I feel sometimes the eco documentaries are honoring the ancestor souls, and they didn't mention the word eco-friendly at that time in the 30s. But nowadays you would call it that lifestyle. So I have one last little topic left, and that's about conscience and bad conscience and pure conscience. And one sister mentioned here the plastic bottles, and somehow it is impossible to live 100% environmentally friendly. And there is some things sometimes we have to do that you get a bit bad conscience over. Taking flights, for example, coming to Madhuban, and here, shall I get diarrhea or drink from plastic bottles? I mean, you would call it an ethical dilemma, I suppose. And certain things also back home with money and banks and investments, and it's just impossible to live completely ethical at this time. And I can get bad conscience when I do all of that. So how to overcome that?
I think I have to say, can I do the best that I can and be satisfied with that? I agree that it's not possible always to be 100% eco-friendly. Flights, for example, one practical way. But I think that the best I can do is something that I have to try and achieve. Is there something else that I can also change? And if I can, let me do that. I think that's the only way to reconcile what's going on with my own conscience.
Yeah, we have a big webpage with a lot of resources, Brahmakumaris, echo.brahmakumaris.org. And there we have a plastic-free campaign for the centers. And of course, we try to inspire the institution as much as possible to go plastic-free wherever possible. We had also tree plantation campaigns, various, despite the next day the cow is coming or the goat is coming and eating the tree. Then we put steel support to protect the tree. Then a week later, the humans were coming and stealing the tree at the tree guard as a scrap. And then we had to put concrete around the tree to protect it. And now I think we planted 2,000 trees, maybe 20 have survived over the 10 years, you know. So that is the difficulties you sometimes face when you try to do something right. But rightly said, Sonja, it's a question about conscience. And sometimes I feel guilty when I take or not so good when I take a flight. I try to reduce. I look into my personal carbon footprint and I try to make choices. And we try to inspire people to make the right choices with diet, with consume of cloth, food, electricity, and so on, and segregate waste and so on. And small steps, we can make choices, we can make it different, and then it all accumulates together. However, the big picture is also there. We're part of this society. So as Sonja mentioned, we cannot avoid 100% to live like green angels. That's yet not possible. Time will come. So we're part of this life. And if I have to judge between coming to Madhuban and the emissions from the carbon footprint, I choose coming to Madhuban because my spiritual enlightenment is more important in that respect than my carbon footprint. And the same I see when we go to conferences and we have travels and this and that. I feel priority is the spiritual enlightenment for the self and for society, and after that comes all the other. So yes, we can take choices, and through our spirituality we will be on the right track then.
Thank you. So how to talk about conscience, Sister Jayanti, without always thinking bad conscience or guilt conscience? In Morocco there was a conference on conscience, wasn't it? Yeah.
I think if I focus on what am I doing now, then that's the important thing. Baba often says, put a full stop to the past. Even in today's Avyakt signal, same thing, put a full stop to the past. And so if I keep letting my mind go back, then I'm not following Baba's instructions. And so, okay, I've learned the lessons from the past, but also what I've learned is that I've created the situation now. So I feel responsible to be able to transform it and change it. And that'll only happen when I pay attention to the quality of my thinking, elevated, pure thoughts, but also my words and my actions.
This seems like a good place to stop for a meditation, isn't it? With full stop and pure conscience. So we'll ask Sister Jayanti to guide a 5 minutes meditation with us on this topic. And then we're coming towards the end and Toli and blessing. Yeah.
No music, please. Connecting with myself, I can feel I, the eternal, immortal being of light, And in this awareness, it's very natural and easy to connect with Shiv Baba, the Supreme, the being of light. And I receive from Baba rays of peace, of love, of purity. And I realize that I, the soul, am in need of these, but also this body of mine also needs these from Baba. I allow Baba's light, peace, and love, and purity to surround this physical body of mine. So that the elements that make up this body also receive the same. And now, with Baba, the transformer, the magician, the creator of the new world, Baba's light reaches out to all forms of life, making them feel safe, Baba's light also reaches out to all the elements of matter. And the elements are cleansed and purified so that they too become Satopradhan. And they too can then support us in Satyug. I refocus on Baba, the source of love, of peace and purity, so that the soul continues on its journey to reach its Karmatit stage, and also the world around us can be transformed. Om Shanti.
Thank you very much. So I just wanted to leave space for a short final comment before we finish. So Sister Jayanti, Golo, anything from your heart you want to say?
It's a question that's been coming in my mind, and that is, what is it I'm dependent on? And whatever it is I'm dependent on, whether it's a person, whether it's people, whether it's situations, whether it's my comforts, food, whatever it is, that is going to be a problem for me in my final moments. So I have to deal with that today, just keep asking yourself this question, what is my dependency? And deal with it.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to my mind came a question about hope, how to give hope to people, and we have created for that purpose a special platform called Yogis for Future. It's a meditation platform. It's on Twitter, Instagram, and on Facebook, I think we are. And we offer in English 150 meditation commentaries, 6 to 10 minutes long. And we gave this out to the people in the climate conference and say, here, you can meditate for 5 minutes in the morning, and you can click on your handy and you have 10 different topics, meditation for the self, for environment, for peace, for relation, for empowerment, and so on. And the good news is that we are in planning of translate it into Hindi and also into Spanish. Ole. So this is the good news. And you can have a look. You can Google Yogis for Future. You come to our webpage and you can promote that also. And its speciality, it's a bit neutral, so it's for outside people also. That came to my mind. Otherwise, thank you very much for coming and for sharing and joining us on the journey towards Golden Age. Om Shanti.
So thank you to both of you, and I think we give both of them a big hand, shall we? Thank you very much. It's amazing, and I love interviewing these two people. You never know what's going to happen, so that's good. And yes, now we'll have Toli and blessings, and I think maybe those who are going back to Panda Bhavani, if you come first. So we rearrange here, and Golo, you can give the